Yeah, started.
Yeah, so let me share the screen. So our first problem is like, what do you say, jump game 5. So it's what they are saying, that array of integers will be given and integer d is given. Now in one step you can jump from I to in what do you say, I to index. Okay. So X steps you can take back and X steps you can take front, keeping the constraint that whenever you take on the front side, your I plus X should be within the array length and your X should be within 0 to D, sorry. And this should be positive. That is, you shouldn't go beyond the array again. I mean, when you take backwards, and this same constraint like X should be within 0 to D. Okay. And one more condition, only if array of I is greater than array of J, and array of I greater than array of K for all indices between I to J. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, from diagram we'll get. So it's like if he is at 13, he's allowed to what do you say, jump on this place or jump on this place, right? But what is, if he's on 6, then he's not, he can't jump like this way, right?
Yeah, if it is lower side, you cannot jump the other way
Yeah.
because you have to jump from the higher uh, altitude to the lower altitude. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, but the
And
other way also, like whenever you jump to one step, like when you jump from maybe like the way you are doing, like when you jump from 12 to 10. Okay.
okay.
So in this case, you are allowed, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but you are allowed because your D is at least 2. Had your D been only 1, so you would have only allowed to be jumped from 12 to 6, right? The black square. So the D also plays some role in this, correct? So it
Yeah.
limits your jump. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, that restriction is there, your X should be within D, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you have to do? You have to return the maximum number of indices which you can visit, and make sure that you cannot jump outside of the array at any point of time. Makes sense. So your D is 2, right?
Uh-huh.
And they don't give the start index, right? We have to choose it by ourselves.
Yeah, we have to find out actually. So any index is fine. We can start from any index,
Okay,
but
okay, yeah.
we keep on jumping as maximum as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So in this case, uh, we can jump at index 10, right? The result is see 1, 2, 3. Okay, but if we jump at index, jump at number 13, then it's only 2, right? Because we either can go 9 and 7,
Yeah.
or from 13 we can go 8 and 6,
Perfect. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But okay, I see. It does not need to be like consecutively decreasing. At as long as uh, the value is lower than the current value, then you can jump, right?
Mhm.
And within the d distance. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but once you are actually at 10, okay, now if you look at the way it's jumping from 12, he can jump to 10 because D is 2, right? So
Yeah.
the both of these, the green rectangle and blue rectangle, they are two distance apart. So that is allowable. And now when he goes and jumps from 10 to 9, so if you look at the 9, which is the yellow rectangle, which is at least 4 distance apart from the green, right? So the D restriction applies to the place where you start jumping.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it keeps on giving you more flexibility. The place where you start your jump, again, you have another D. So you can keep jumping as long as you are allowed. So if this whole array was in ascending order, right? So you could have started from the very end and jumped all the way to the beginning if your D was at least 1. Right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So total for like 10 to 8 and 8 to 6 and 7, right?
Mhm.
10 to 8. Wait, where is it? You can start at index. Oh, index 10. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
index 1.
I
Then 8
thought
to
that
7.
from year to year.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it
so they are
looks like.
counting that 12 also. Yeah.
Pardon, go ahead.
So they are counting the start index also. So
Yeah.
therefore it is 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. What you were saying, it looks like what?
Looks like a monotonic stack problem. I mean, but it's. I mean,
Well,
but
okay. So see, the way I look at this problem, okay, it looks to me like, it is more of a, yeah, you will have a different opinion. Everyone will have different opinion.
yeah.
So because I have to go to each and every index, okay, and try. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll go to every index first because I don't know the 12 is the best one or the one which is height 13 is the best one. So I'll have to go and try and do tries for each and everything. So there is no way that actually I can already have an information of those jumps, right? So I'll have to explore them and I have to
Exhaustive.
get those values. Yeah. So I'll have to explore all the possibilities. So I consider that not to be a DP solution at all, right? So it will
Yeah.
be more of a, oh sorry, it won't be a greedy solution at all, but it will be of a recursion and DP solution, correct? Right. So as I'm going to explore everything, and when I'm exploring, I know that I'm going to exhaust a lot of things. And if the array size is huge, then I'm going to end up in a TLE or something like that, right? So
That
for
is
that, I need to optimize, and the solution might be more than exponential or maybe even factorial. I don't know, right? So I need to reduce that time complexity. So for that reasons, I would go the DP way. Right. Yeah. So then there will be a lot of optimized way of doing it other than DP also. I agree. But initially it looks to me it is like that, correct?
first recursion and then memorize it. I mean, because
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah. So because that's very intuitive looking at the problem.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so Shashank would say about the monotonic stack.
Then I was thinking, but I don't think so. It will work. I just like.
No, it's not
Yeah,
it's
just
it's a
explain
possibility. It
what
should
you
work.
mean.
Why not? Yeah. It should work the monotonic stack way also, but it will still be a sort of a DP solution to some extent, right?
Yeah, will mono. I mean, stack will only help you whether you are increasing or decreasing. Like the the current number is if lesser than the next number is lesser than the top of the stack, then you can either push it on the stack and keep on pushing till the D and then just take the length of a stack, something like that.
Yeah, but it will be mostly mm, n solution, n square solution, maybe not n square solution. It might be just n into 2 passes,
Kind
right?
of, yeah.
Yeah, because if it's a monotone stack, it's always going to go to the end linearly, right? And then it's going to expand or compress the stack,
That,
correct? So that's going to be max will be the whole of it, compression, everything. It's not going to go beyond the stack size, right? So it will be
yeah.
maximum of 2 pass solution, but it will be linear solution, I think.
But would the monotonic stack work and how it worked?
It is exactly the way he's showing here the jumps,
He
right?
hasn't explained it.
Yes, Shashank.
Yeah, I was saying that let's say, I mean, I'll use 12, right? I'll push 12 to the top of the stack, right? Now you have to make D jumps out of that from there. D steps you have to take. So I'll check whether the current number 6 is there. So can you take a jump on 6? So, but D has to be 2, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he has to take. So 6 I won't include. Then I'll check whether the second number from the current 10. So 10 is on the top of the stack. So sorry, 10 is lesser than the top of your stack. So what you can do, you can push 10 to the stack.
Yeah, I would say it will be a monotonic decreasing stack, right?
Yeah.
So, like if you see, if you have this 13, okay, imagine that you have done everything, you are at this index which has a height 13, okay, then when you have pushed 13, that is the only one what you have, then you push 19 because 19 is smaller than 13, correct? And then you
Yeah.
push the height 7, which is smaller. But as soon as 10 comes in, correct? So 10 is
Yeah.
actually going to kick out 7 and 9. Okay. But when he is doing that, actually he is going to calculate the jumps from 10 to 9. Okay. And then actually from 9 to 7 also.
So
At
Mm.
each stage, it can actually change the direction.
yeah, direction will change. Both the ways will go. So like if I start from 30, now 9 is lesser than I'll push 9. Now 10 is lesser, I'll push, sorry, 7. Now, but when the 10 comes, I'll keep on popping till the moment I find that the top of a stack is greater than this. Right. I mean, I'll check D also while doing all these things that I shouldn't cross that. And so now I'll store its index also. Let's say 13 index is something like X is there. And this is my current index I. So I minus X will give me to what extent it can span on this side, right?
No, let's say you have enough. I mean, the D is big enough to jump anywhere.
Okay. Okay. D is big enough. Okay. Then,
So you go forward and then come back,
Yeah.
yeah. And then go on the other side.
and then go other side. So you can sort of a pendulum, right?
Yeah. Oscillation it will have.
Well, it is not that way because when you are actually popping out, you can actually have those decisions for the
So
D
that's why I'm saying
part.
that. I mean, I'm not able to visualize with that stack.
Okay. So let's actually go with the first normal recursion solution, right? Then we come with the stack. So it is actually this one, the DP one is also, it is acceptable solution, correct?
Yeah. It's
So that
this.
is the
Yeah.
base solution.
Promising. I mean,
Yeah, let's
So,
finish that and then come to the stack, right?
okay.
And that is what you have already implemented.
So
It,
DP is like, you go ahead.
no, yeah. So it is almost the most simplest way of doing the way we do
Exactly.
the, okay.
Left and this is for the right. I'll walk from the beginning then. So it's like length of the array what we have calculated. Okay. And jump function I've defined where what will happen. I mean, throughout this array, it will take each of the element in that array and pass it into our jump function. And whatever max out of it is, that will return at last. Now, this is the main function, right?
Okay. So your actually jump function, you are just passing an index now to that jumps function, and that index actually will calculate you all the jumps required for that particular index, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So now corresponding to that index, you are getting the height, right? You got the height. And max jump I made it to 0. So this is like when I'm going from forward, like whatever the start is and max of this you will take because D jumps are allowed only at max, right?
Hmm.
And we are decreasing it by one every time. And whenever you find that current index height, what do you say, current array index is greater than the height, you will break in that case.
Right.
Otherwise, max of what do you say, the current. I mean, go for the next. It's a kind of go for the next call, right? From
Yeah,
that
so
index.
so on line 18, actually, even if you just ignore the break condition for now, so actually you are calculating all the max jumps when you are moving in the, uh, I think in the right direction, right?
Yeah, it's for right one.
Yeah, so when you're moving in the right direction, so you keep on calculating the max jumps as if you don't bother about the height. Okay, so your heights are already allowable because your height what you are jumping to is lower than your current height, right? So then you are actually maximizing that, but eventually when you come across a height which is not satisfying the criteria, then you break, correct?
In that case, yeah.
Okay, so do
And
you
this is
early break there?
other way direction. This one, like
So the left side.
left side, yeah.
Mhm. And then
So
you'll
these
have
are
to
the
add one.
relation. Yeah. I mean, one for this, right to left to right, and one right to left, another is left to right. This one.
Yeah. So you're recursively calling on line 18 and line 24, you are recursively calling the jumps function again, correct?
Yeah. This part. And taking the max of that, updating the max every time.
Right. So even if you look at this DP function, it is not a normal one, even though it appears to be. There are two things. One is you have to do from your current index to the right side, and the other is from the current index to the left side. So we have two parts to do first, right? And then in that case also we have to break early whenever the condition doesn't satisfy on line 15 and line 21.
21.
Yeah. And then at the end on line 26, you actually take the cumulative jumps, whatever you have till now for that particular index, you add one and then you return it.
In that case, yeah.
Yeah. And then you memorize the whole solution.
Exactly. I'm using the inbuilt to what you said. This.
Yeah, I saw that LRU cache. Yeah. So it does that memorization for you.
So
Right.
this is two recurrence relation, one on left side, other on right side, and just
Yeah, that's very important because we have to do it, right? As Praveen said, you have to jump both sides. So you'll have to do this thing. But even the break statement, what you are putting is very important, right? If you don't put this break statement, you won't get the results because you want to break when you are not satisfying the condition.
condition. Yeah.
So you'll have to be slightly careful on those two fronts, and then we are good for this DP solution, right? So sorry, the top-down approach.
That is the top down. Yeah.
Mhm.
The top down is intuitive here. I don't know bottom up.
Yeah. So is this the way you are thinking, Praveen? Okay.
Praveen is
He's
like
busy. Okay, no problem. So
okay.
I think this is at least we are able to follow. Correct. Yeah. Any questions on that? Anyone? No. Okay. So now let's go to the monotonic stack solution.
So
Okay.
now what?
So monotonic stack solution, what they do is usually you start again always from your each and every index, right? So the normal way we start, like we start from 0th index, and then we actually, if the stack is empty, we push that index. Here we will actually push the index and not the heights, correct? That is what you are also trying to say, right, earlier?
Height along with tuple also you can push, no problem.
Yeah, that's fine. But even if you put that index, because you can get the height from the index, if you just
Subtracting.
assume for some time, so you just push the index for when the stack is empty. And now when you are in a particular index, okay, and that height of that index, if it is greater than the height which is on the top of the stack.
So let's
Okay.
mark annotate, then
Yeah.
it will be better.
So okay, for if you are in the 6, first you push 6.
Six side.
Yeah.
No, 4 is
Now,
lesser.
so now when you come to 4, 4 is lesser than the top on the stack which is 6, so you also push 4. Okay. Now then you come to 14, and then you don't push 14 for now. But what you do now is actually you first pop 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you just put 4 somewhere, and then what you do is in this 4 you will have to establish, because 4 you know the index is 1. Correct. So in this we don't have much chances, but then we'll have to establish something like another loop, which will start from this index plus 1. Okay. Then it will, because here you don't have any other jumps. You cannot do any jumps. Okay. So in this case, what will happen maximum? Okay. So you are actually going to look for whatever the value, because you'll actually set a sort of a array over here initially, which will initialize all these values of that array, if it is a DP array, to all for value 1, right?
Yeah.
So when you are at a DI, in this case DI is index 2. Okay, for index 2 what you will do is now you know that I and j, I minus j is at least less than or equal to D. Correct. So it is this, the index which is 2 minus 1, which is 1, which is less than or equal to D. In that case, you will get the value at this index 2, which is equal to max of the value which is at index I plus 1 plus the max of value which is at index j, right? So so the value of index j, okay, I'll just
You are
write
annotating, but
something here. Okay, no, that's fine. What you do, that is correct. You just do that also. So here you will actually maintain an array first, right? So this array, okay, so this array will be exactly of the same size what we have. So right now we are at 2, right? I'll just mark all of them for now. Okay, and initially this value will be 1, all will be initialized to 1. Okay, so now if we are at 2, okay, now in this case we are at, this is 0 1 2, correct? So we are at
yeah.
2. So now we have to fill this value, because this value and this value, if you look at these indexes, okay, both of them, they are within the D. So now you can take this value, which will be 1 plus this value, okay, and whatever is at this place, if it is maximum value, so 1 plus 1 will be 2, therefore 2 is greater than 1, so you can change this to 2, right? So at least you can have a jump from 14 to 4. Correct.
Mhm.
So that you do. Now when you have done with this, then you pop out 4. You have done that, right? So now you again go in the same for loop, same loop again, and then you pop out 6 now. So when you pop out 6, okay, now you do the same thing for 6. And then you are not still moving your index here. This I index will be here always. Okay.
Yeah.
So now this is also smaller in that case.
Okay.
Okay, but in our case, actually what happened, it is the stack is empty, so you will have to come out, right? So you cannot do more in this case.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We can -1 at the base of a stack for 6.
no, actually they are actually taking the max side of the stack to be more the array, but that's fine. But if we just go for this one, it's fine. So now we come out from this, then now we push 14. Okay, then we when you come to 6, okay, 14 and 6 actually are lesser. Okay, then you push 16 also, sorry, 6 also, 14 and 6. Right now you have removed this 4 and 6, then you will have 14 here in the stack. Okay, and also you will have then you will push 6, because 6 is also smaller. But then when you come to 8, okay, so now if you see 8 and 6, right, so we have only one jump which is possible. So if you do it here, so here also was 1, and here is the 8, right? So this was for 14, this is for 6 8, yeah. So in this case you can actually do the same thing again, and then your value at 8 will also be 2 max jumps, right? So then when you come to 13, in that case, okay, so 13, what you will do, because now you have popped out 6 also, when you actually come to 8, you have okay, did I say 14? Okay, then 14, then actually was 6, correct? So when 8 comes in, so I will actually remove 6, correct? And then I will again push 8, right? Because 8 is actually lesser than 14. So I cannot remove 14, right? So then when I come to 13, right? So then I know that actually I can pop out 8, but I know for 8 I have already 2. So 2 plus 1 will be 3 in this case, right?
Okay.
So then I actually pop out 8 also, and then now 14 is lesser than 13, so I actually put 13 in that case. Okay, so if I keep on doing all this stuff, okay, at the end, so this is a complex scenario when you actually start 9 7 10 and 14. So there are some more things you need to take care of. So the way we were Praveen also asked initially, right? So you will have to jump. In this case, see, you are jumping the left side, okay, but here you are also jumping the
Right side.
right side, right? So how that is being done? Because when you are actually coming in the stack, okay, every time, okay, so you are calculating all these values, right? So the way you are doing it, you are actually slowly building from the bottom up, right, in this direction. So these
Yeah.
values will automatically be taken care of. You don't have to actually jump. So when you are at 9, you already have the value what you had from 7 to 9 and all those jumps, right? So this value will be already there, right? So when you come to 10, okay, you have already popped out 9 7, okay. In this case the value was only 1, but here the value was 2, right? So in this case, in the 10, it will be first 2 value, because when you are popping out 7, but then when you are done with 7, you still have to pop out 9, okay. But if you look at the value of 9 is 2, so 2 plus 1 will be 3, which is greater than this value which we stored here at 10. So here this will be now incremented to 3, right? So then you will push 10 after 13. So you will pop out 9 and 7. So this will go away, right? So what you are having is 13. So this will be there, and then this will be there. So at this time now the value of 10 will be 3. Okay. So when you come out to 6, it is a smaller value. Even if you have a value 1 or 2, so it doesn't make a difference, because here the 6 will actually give you the value for 12 as 2, right? But that will go away eventually. So but you will pop out 6 also, right? But then when you are looking for the distance between 12 and this 10, and these are the only two candidates now, because 13 is maybe very far, right? So if you look from 12 to 10, you see the value of 10, which is 3, right? So this is 3 now. And if you add 3 plus 1, which will be 4, so that is surely greater than 2, which is already in the 12. And therefore, you will increment this value to 4. Okay, so you don't have to do the left and right variations jumps in the stack, because they will be taken care of when we are actually building this whole array from the bottom up.
Okay. Yeah.
It is slight different way to implement, but overall the template is almost the same as the monotonic stack.
And yeah, looks like somewhat similar. Yeah.
It is only there is one key condition wherein we have to look for all the jumps which are possible of d distances from j to maybe something like a I, you know, between that range. So wherever you're coming from and around that particular index. So suppose now if you are at this index, right? Okay, so you have to look for how much jumps you can make, right? So it all depends on your D. So if D is 1, you can only make till here, but D is 2, then you can make here, provided your height gives you that advantage, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just quickly share the code, so then things will be slightly clear. Jump. Okay. Okay. So now if you look at this implementation, okay, everything is normal. Only thing is what he is doing to take care of the very end condition when you are at 12. Okay, so you still need to update the value of 12, right? So this is one edge case, or maybe an additional thing what you have to do. You have to push a very maximum value on the array, input array. Okay, so that is just to take care of the very end condition, which is the case for 12 in our case, right? So this is an array which I am actually initializing all its value to 1, and this is my stack which I'll be using for the monotonic stack implementation. And this is the normal loop what I'm going through the whole index of my input array, and here my monotonic stack starts. So if my stack is not, if my stack is empty, okay, I just push in my values here. Okay, but if it is not empty, then I look for the value, current value, if it is greater than the value which is on the top of my stack. If it is, then I just pop it out. Okay, and then I here, this is the for loop which is slightly more, or maybe some different way what we look for, because we start from some index k, which will be like from the index what you have actually popped out from the stack, you will take that. Around that, you will have to actually find out, because you cannot, because you have to start from this index and look for other places to jump. So therefore, you start with j plus 1. So the k will be the place where you want to jump. Okay. And in this case, you are just trying to see you are not exceeding the limit of your I, because that is where you are coming from. Okay. And also you are looking for, you are not going to exceed the d distance, right? And also you are looking for if your element what you are actually going to jump is lesser than the element which you are actually going to jump from. So this is j what you have popped out. So you want to jump from j to other locations, that is which are the k around j. So you just want to satisfy this condition, and then you just keep on jumping with the k indexes, right? So every time what you do is actually keep on updating your value of j, the one what you just popped out. Okay, and then you go in this for loop around all the places in the d where you can jump. Okay, and then you keep on incrementing by adding 1 to the where you are going to jump. Okay, so once you are done with this, okay, then now the condition comes is that where you are in this I, so you need to actually apply that value whatever you have jumped till now, maximum jump. So that value you will have to apply, provided you will check if that is also within your distances.
If your
Okay.
distance
Yeah.
management.
So this is the only extra step you have to do. Okay, but most of the time when you do something in a monotonic stack, you'll always have to do some other processing, right? So this is the only different case what you have to do over here, right? So once you do, so once you update that I, so everything is good, right? So then you come back and then you push everything. So at the end, what happens is you will have to scan the whole DP array once again. Okay, and now it is -1 because you have added all that int max, right? So you don't want that value also. So if you just scan through the whole of array and find whichever the element is maximum, you return. Right. So it looks like O of n 2 pass solution max, right?
Is it or n square? It looks.
It
mean,
won't,
if
right? Because see, when you come to I, okay, and then when you pop any element in the J, so the element, see, whatever the elements you are popping out. So this is a normal monotonic stack. You are not going to do anything more.
in that case, yeah.
Okay, so you are saying if this J, sorry, if this loop in the case, if your D is almost equal to N, right? So in that case, yeah, it might be towards N square leaning to, yeah, maybe. Yeah, that might be one case, yeah.
Like if you have 1 1 1 1 2 2 2 2 like this.
Yeah, but yeah, the more important the D jumps, that is what is the restriction. So D, if it is greater, it is almost N, and then you are at the very extreme end, and then you want to explore everything. Yeah, you can say that maybe N square max,
Kind of.
because yeah, because the bottom up approach will be almost N cube, right?
Okay.
Or it will also be N square.
At least n square for sure.
Yeah, it will be N square, right? Yeah, N
N
square
cube.
or N cube, I'm not sure, because you are having two recursion calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's only single recursion call, right? Yeah, it's not two. You're going either the left side or the right side. Yeah, maybe
In a
that is also N square then. Yeah. Usually the top down and bottom up approach actually come to the same diagonal complexity, right?
yeah. Top down will be n square, right? Because both the ways you are checking left to right and right to left.
Yeah, N square. It's not going to be N cube. It will be N
No, no.
square. Mhm.
Cube, I don't think so.
Right. So this will also be, this only actually is having a space complexity slightly lesser than that. If you're using a memoization, you will have
Yeah.
to do for all. Yeah. Okay. So this was a DP solution, a
And
top down also bottom up.
oh, that is bottom up only using stack, right?
Yeah, that
Both.
is what actually comes to, there is no other way you can do a bottom up approach. the way we do for the others, right? Or else you'll have to maintain that because you have to jump to right and left, right? So in that case, you'll have to have a DP array of twice the size, something like that, and that also will be 2D. So I think, but the stack works. So I think most of the implementations are the stack based.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Then.
Yeah, let's move to the next one. I think no one has answered questions on that.
So next is like guess number higher or lower, and it's like we are playing the guessing game, and the game will work as follows. I pick a number between 1 to n.
I think Uday was asking some question. Hey Uday, did you have any question?
Yeah. So what we discussed is like n into d or n square, something like that. But people are doing O of n solutions as well. I mean, I'm not able to. There are some Python solutions, but I couldn't understand how it looks like O of n, but I couldn't understand what they are trying to do.
I also saw just now.
So
It's
is it the stack way?
yeah, stack only,
Yeah,
monotonic
Yeah,
stack.
stack
yeah.
only.
So therefore, I was saying, stack actually comes to O of n. It looks like, right?
Yeah, see this one. They are not doing any. Uh, uh, I mean, they are not doing any inside the when where they are popping the stack. They are not doing any for loop inside or something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's
memoization.
interesting.
This part is for memoization. Okay. Here you are saying they are not using any for loop in this point of.
Yeah,
I thought that
Okay,
I
that's
what I was telling. That will it lead to n square or not?
okay. Okay, let's go through that solution.
Sure.
This is something very different. So what he's doing?
actually,
Uh-huh.
1 minute. The same guy who has she asked the doubts. She created a O of n solution.
Mm-hmm.
Shared it. I have sent a link in the chat. I think.
Okay. What is this? Let me see. That's I can't. It's not opening.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
not
let me
opening for me
share them.
also.
Let me share them. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they are saying decreasing stack. I mean the decreasing stack with O of n.
Uh-huh.
Not sure actually. What didn't understand either the Python one or the C++ one.
Oh, now he is actually converted into C++1.
Yeah, both. He has written both actually.
Oh, interesting.
So the Python one I can like it's like they are creating a DP array with n+1 size of array and filling everything with 1. And now what they are doing in the to the array at the last they are adding the infinity. That is what Santosh was also doing, right?
Yeah,
Putting
that is one thing. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
now what is doing in for loop index along with the value at that particular index. That is what enumerate is doing. So you are taking the index as well as what is the value at that index. Now, while loop, as long as your stack is not empty and whatever the top of the stack is, I mean, uh, corresponding to that, you are picking the element in your array and you are checking with the current with the element of the array whether it is less than that or not. Then in that case, you pop it and put it in a list, right?
So you're putting a list and then you are going in that for loop from J to that list, right?
For the next one, yeah.
Uh-huh. So if you come at the first if condition, he's trying to look for the greater I and J difference. That is
Exactly.
fine. But after that, actually, he has to jump for each and everything, right? Yeah. So he's almost doing the same thing here, right?
What you were doing, yeah.
Yeah. So, but the way you are showing that implementation is slightly different than this one.
Your mine is only
Yeah.
one while loop.
Right, right. So that was very surprising.
But they are
Uh,
using dictionary, they are using to memorize it.
yeah, but still, that is much better, right?
Yeah.
At least it prevents you to have all these hassles, right? When you have this for loop, this is not a normal one. Yeah, but that you will still be able to come up with, right? So not so difficult though. Hmm. I'm just trying to think loud because maybe now I am at least understanding this solution. Therefore, I'm thinking. But if it comes in an interview, it will be slightly difficult, right? To come to so far.
To that one, yeah.
So maybe the way you are following. Huh. Yeah, but really good. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, to bringing this, Uday.
Yeah.
So you have this way.
Yeah, QR code to follow.
There's an idea. Okay, so the C++, I just trying to look at it. So he's actually popping up and then he's doing minus, doing that one, or else he's pushing that, right? But then he comes in the second case. Okay, if the stack size is still not empty, or is empty? Okay, and then he comes and actually, okay, there he fills that DP state for the J condition because he wants to go for the J, what he is actually there are two while loops. Okay, one is a pre. So the pre where he's comparing is only comparing in the first while loop. Okay. So the second while loop is for, okay, so the current stack, right? That is, therefore it is stack dot back. Stack dot back and stack 2 dot back. Oh, we are using two stacks and both of them are actually vectors. It looks very different, but an interesting one, right?
So that he's maintaining an extra stack for I think only the equal values, I guess. Even in the Python one, he's popping that number and he's appending to that L. So if he's appending only if it is equal to that number.
Yeah, the first number.
Yeah,
L of
the popper number.
pop number, yeah.
Yeah, and then he's doing J in L.
So when he's doing actually, when he's actually doing equal to, he's not popping from there, right, in the stack. Okay, because this is a vector, you don't need to do any pop back, right? Even if you override, that should be fine. Correct. So he's just using that. So he's just keeping everything in the stack. He's not popping out. Maybe he's just playing with the indexes then.
No. Even in C++ also, he is doing a stack dot back and stack dot pop back, and he is doing only if the values are equal.
Yeah. So he's doing a pop back only when, yeah, if it is equal. Okay.
Yeah,
But he's
and
not popping out fully when if it is less than. Because anyway you are here, you don't pop it, but you pop it only if they are equal.
Exactly.
What does that mean? Yeah, it will always be equal, right? Because pre will be equal to that stack dot back always, correct? because that is the value. Stack dot back actually doesn't do anything. It just gives the last value. So when you come in the first, your stack is not empty. Stack dot size will have some value, so that will be true. So pre will be equal to a stack dot back, because you are not doing anything. So the very first time when you come the while loop, you will come here, okay, and then your j will be the last value in that array, and then you will pop back. So you will always pop back, correct? Okay, and then you will come to j, and then you look for I and j distance, and then you will actually update your DP array, okay, and then when you are done with that, then you push this value into your second stack. So this j value, so you are actually pushing everything into your stack 2, which will actually be your j jumps now, right? And therefore you are going in this while loop again, so you will have some j values, and then now you are going to take each one value from that j, and again you are trying to do jumps across, okay? So if you look at the if stack size and j minus stack dot back is less than or equal to d, that if condition, that means he is looking for from that value, each and every value from that stack 2 for that d distance apart, and then he's trying to update the DP array based on it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is slightly similar though, but he has used a different tricks. Interesting
Okay.
one. It won't look like often in the case if you see if it is a the stack 2 size keeps on growing, because if your d is greater, right? If your d is equal to n, okay. So your first while loop, which for loop, which starts from runs from 0 to n, and if any of your stack size is also of size n, right? So it will be like n square. Yeah, it won't reach actually. That won't be a possible scenario, but at least it can be n by 2, right? So it will be still n square by 2. So it might be n square, right? So that is what we were thinking about. I'm just thinking loud, because when you said you have another while loop, okay, so this also almost similar to that, right? Only the case if your d is greater. If you're allowed to jump anywhere from any index, so then it might be a n square solution. Yeah, but the Python one, what you are showing, and he is also doing some different tricks, but they both are same, right? This C++ and Python one, what is the year with they showing, right? They are the same solution.
What Shashank has shown was something different.
Right.
They didn't have the while loop, something.
Yeah. So that will be interesting to watch. Yeah, that's true. But at least these two are the same. Yeah. So let's see, Shashank. Can you quickly go there?
Yeah,
You don't mind?
yeah, sure. So this one,
Because
right?
it looks very, yeah, the one what you're showing. And you, okay, so what is about the LRU cache? What you're doing is a height one. So that is max.
What it is caching that you are asking?
Yeah. Okay, maybe we'll come to that later. Okay, so now what is your function doing, the main one?
This is like you are getting the length of array and creating a dictionary, which will have keys and list will be as the values. And this is your stack, right? Iterator. Now jump function is called here. Like you are passing in range of n, like 0 to n. You are passing 0 to n. You are passing, yeah.
So each and every index you are passing here, right? So you are going to call this jump n number of times.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you come to this single jump. So now you are already coming to this jump because you are in a single index. Okay. So now in this index, when you come, you get the iterator. So the iterator I, so where is this coming from?
Which
Okay.
I?
Because the index.
Okay.
Yeah, the iterator will be the index what you are passing, right?
Argument it is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So then you want to take I in, yeah, that is what.
But I'm doing calling 2 times, one for forward, one for backward, the jump function.
Yeah, you are doing that too. And if you look at this jump function, you still have a for loop inside it, right? And another while loop.
Yeah.
While loop is for the stack. So it comes to almost a similar one, right?
But they are mentioning as O of n.
Yeah,
The
yeah, that is correct. So if you ignore the fact like the d will always be lesser than n, it
yeah
will be very, very less. So if you see O of nd, and if your d equals n, so it will be n square, correct? But we are assuming that d won't be n.
yeah
That's true, right? So if d is not n, then if d is very less, if it is n by 2 also, then it is n square. But if it's so less, it's only 10% of n. So then you can ignore the d part, right? Maybe.
con-
Yeah.
constant.
Yeah, you can think it's a constant, something like that, right? Yeah, but it appears to be because d will always be constant value. So then you can ignore d. Yeah, a
In that
clever way of arguing with the interviewer, right?
yes
That's
this
nice. Yeah, but this is cool. Very
yeah
smartly done, right? Yeah.
finally got it.
Yeah, at least we are able to understand on a high level, correct? Yeah. So the Python ones are always very tricky to understand and implement also, right?
Oh, yeah. First time I like 2 times he's calling. I thought, how is
Yeah,
it
he's
to?
calling two times. One is the reverse way and the forward way. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. You can move to next then.
Yeah.
So the rule of the game is like I pick a number from 1 to n, and you guess a number, and if you guess the right number, you win the game. And if you guess the wrong number, then I'll tell you whether the number I picked is higher or lower, and you'll keep on continue guessing. So every time you guess a wrong number X, you will pay X dollars, and you'll run out of money. You'll lose the game. Okay. You have to return the minimum amount of money you need to guarantee a win, regardless of what number I pick. Yeah. So the number is 7. If you pick 3, which is lower than that, right, you'll have to pay a penalty.
Yeah.
Number is, yeah.
Yeah. So this when I looked at this problem, it looked to me sort of a.
Super egg drop problem.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, super egg.
It's similar to super egg drop
Right,
problem.
right, right. But actually implementing that way, yeah, but it is the way they are implementing is slightly different. Yeah. The way he's showing the diagram, right? It starts with 7. That makes more sense here. But
Kind of
there you
make
have to do the explore. You have to explore all the floors.
possibility.
Yeah.
That all the exhaustive possibilities they are doing and caching the value.
Mhm. But anyway, the example what he's showing will be the optimum solution, correct? So he will still have to explore all the possibilities here also.
Yeah.
If you do with type binary search, that what do you think?
Again, we don't know which is the correct number. So
Yeah, you just pick a number and say, they would say
No.
lower or higher.
no, we need to. The main aim is to minimize the number of trials which we are doing to guess the
Yeah, but
correct number.
let's see if I do with the binary, would that, are you saying that would that not work, or that would return a bigger, I mean, that not the result is not minimum.
Uh,
I do binary, it should work, right? I just break it in half.
yes, I think for binary search, what we can do is uh, we can first set the number to be x, then we can again do binary search on it. So for each number from 1 to n, we can set that number as uh, the guessed number, the original number, and then we can binary search and see which one has the maximum number of coins which we have to spend.
Mm-hmm. But that won't be sufficient, right? Because you still have to explore all the possibilities. Is it?
Yes.
Or only half.
No, it is not mentioned uh, what we will choose once we decide a number. Like if we choose 7 as the original number and we guess 5, then okay, then it has to the person has to say that the original number is higher than the guessed number.
Yeah, higher or lower, or maybe if it is equal, then we are good. So if it is lower, okay, then we are still fine if we are on 5. But if we say it is higher, then we are actually, you will have to count this 5 value and then move ahead, right? So because that is a penalty we are paying now
Yes.
because we have chosen a wrong number. So then when you move to the high side, which will be between 5 to 10, maybe from 6 to 10, so it will be a value of 8 in the search case of binary, right? So when we come for 8, okay, so if we pick up this number and it's not the right choice, if we say it's still greater, then we are actually paying a penalty of 5 plus 8, which will be 13. Okay, so then when you are only on 9 and 10, and either of it you pick, so 13 plus 9 will be the minimum, right? So in that case, it will be almost 22, right? So therefore, binary search may work. I don't know, but it will have more time complexity, right? Because you are ad hocly going in all the ways. But here, if you actually smartly follow the way he is actually trying to say if it is higher or lower, and now when you come, because you'll have to go through each and every index and do all these operations. So in this case, when it is from 1 to 10, so the most optimum case is when you start with the number 7, right? So that will give you the maximum optimum penalty. In this case, it is 16, something like that, right? Yeah, 16. So if you look at this, the explanation what they are giving, so here the binary search might be uh, too much of time complexity. I'm not saying that it won't arrive at a situation. It will give you the result, but the time complexity will be slightly higher, right? What do you think, Abhishek, Shashank, Leon? You?
Yes,
I'm
I
just
think
thinking loud on that.
Yeah, I just thinking out loud. I don't know.
yes. Uh, what I thought is for binary search approach, we can set the number from 1 to n, and then after setting that number, we can start our binary search from 1 to n. And if the result is directly matching to the set number, then uh, whatever is the cumulative sum, that will be the answer. If it is not, then we will check which side it is and we will keep going through. Then for all the numbers which we set from 1 to n, we can take the maximum number of coins which we spend while setting the number. So
Mm.
that can
Okay,
be the
so
answer.
when you are number, you mean to say you are going to each and every indexes from 1 to 10, doing a binary search. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, the number which the person will set, that we will uh, that we will formulate from 1 to n, and then for each of the numbers we will do binary search.
But how will you check here whether
Can you
whatever
annotate? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
your one plus 10 by 2 you will do first time, it will be 5, right? Now with
Yes.
how will you check whether 5 is a correct guess you have made or not?
Okay, just a moment. I will just share the screen. What I thought I will explain.
Go ahead.
So, so imagine we will set the number from 1 to n, and now for each of the numbers, uh, take it as I. Now we will binary search for this I. the binary search, the lower limit will be 1 and the upper limit will be n. So the mid will be L plus R by 2, and if m is equal to I, then we will stop and we will take the max of answer comma sum. If it is not, then we will check. If m is less than I, then we will set the left to m plus 1, else r is equal to m minus 1. So this whole process we will do for all. Okay. So this process we will do for all the numbers, and this final answer will be the okay. So here we need to increment the sum.
Some you will be storing in some array, you are saying, right? For 1 to n.
No, if we don't, if our guess is not correct, then we will add it to the sum. So sum will start from 0, and if our guess is correct, then for example, let's suppose the value of n is 10, and let's suppose we have set the value of I to be 5. So at first step only, we will get the value 5, which is 10 plus 1 by 2. So here the sum value will be 0 and answer will be 0 only. But if the same process is repeated for 1, then it can go for first the m value will be 5, and since m is not equal to I, so we will increment sum to be 5. Then for next step, uh, our search space will reduce and we will keep adding to the sum if it is not the right guess. And if it is the right guess, we will take the max of the all the sum to reach that set number, and we will break the binary search condition. This I thought.
Yeah. So this will be, you are doing all this in a binary search. Okay. And that at the end, you will always find the optimum sum, right? When you're going through I to n, 1 to n. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that way, what Leon, what you are saying, it's a binary search approach, and it should work, right? But then what do you think about the time complexity in that? Will that
N log,
be
It will be n of n log n. Since
okay?
yeah, and for
since
every
we have n values and the binary search will take log n time.
Okay. So then it is
But
much better, right?
I actually doubt this thing. Will it be optimal? Since it will be the okay, we need to check if this actually works or not.
Yeah. Because that is what I'm thinking, because the way the game works is you have another someone actually guiding you, the higher or lower pick, right?
Yes.
So that is the whole trick. So in those cases, really binary search works. It looks like, the implementation way. It has to be the most efficient way of doing it. But as you are saying, because if you look the same way, I think we do the binary search in super egg drop also, right? And that is the way actually we are able to come up with the most efficient solution, right? So I think in this case also it might work then, right? So I think we had that solution in the lead code also. It doesn't accept the normal solution which should be for the super egg drop, but the binary search solution works.
Yes.
Yeah, then it should. Okay.
So the the one since the problem actually looked like egg drop,
Mhm.
so I did this the same approach like egg drop. Uh, where I fix the start index and the end index, which will be 1 to n.
Mhm.
And the base condition is if the start index is greater than equal to end index, it
Mhm.
returns 0. This is the memorization. So main part is from here. It will iterate from the start index to the end index, and it it will choose if uh, since we are going for the most optimal answer, the maximum count of guess, but the minimum. So if the guess is x, if the guess is I, then we but it is not correct, then we have to spend I coins, and then our search space will be divided into two uh, ways, which will be from the start index to I minus 1 and I plus 1 to B. Since ith one which we guessed is the wrong answer. And from all the answers, we took the most minimum.
Hmm.
So we need
Yeah,
to choose minimum.
yeah, the minimum amount, right? Okay.
So this step is almost similar to egg drop. In egg drop, I think we were doing this. Uh, let's put the answer. Okay. If the egg is breaking, then
Mhm.
uh,
If it n
we
minus
change
1 into, yeah, the floor minus 1 and the egg minus 1,
yes,
or else, yeah,
and the
egg
second one
and
will be and
n minus the floor, yeah, difference of this current one, yeah,
yes, so, this is
n minus 1 there, yeah,
yes. So we need to take the max of both of these.
yeah. So it will be I minus 1 in the first one, k minus 1, I minus 1, and the above will be n minus 1, k. Yeah,
Yes, so,
yeah.
yes.
Hmm.
So it is almost similar to the egg
Yeah,
drop.
yeah. It's perfect. Only you are actually adding the penalty also, which is the I in this
Yes,
case. Correct? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, initially it perfectly looks like that. So then that is what is coming to me also. Now, when you also demonstrated the binary search approach, right? So the
even the
binary search should work,
constraint
I
is
think.
very constraint is very small. So
Yeah. So you don't actually, you are not tempted to do the, okay,
it will
makes
be
sense.
n square since the value will change from 1 to n.
Mm,
So, this time complexity will be of n square, and the space complexity will be also of n square.
mm.
Now, even
Cool. Yeah.
I will just code the binary search and then check if it is passing or not.
Yeah.
Till then, we can
It
discuss
would
the
be
next
interesting.
question. Yes.
Sure.
Till then, we
So,
can discuss the next question, I guess.
okay. So if you are done, if you are able to do that binary search, will you be able to share it in Discord if possible?
Yeah, uh, yeah, sure.
No problem.
I'll just code it up now, and after the discussion, if it works, then we can discuss the solution.
No problem. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Shashank?
yeah, sure. So mine is like same only with top down.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's top
So
down? Okay.
1 to n we are
Oh, yeah,
passing.
top down. Sorry. Uh-huh.
Start and end is there. So if it is already in your memo table, then you return from there.
Mm-hmm.
And s is greater than equal to, then in that case 0.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm initializing my answer to plus infinity and just going from start to end. So these two calls I make is from start to k minus 1 and from k plus 1 to end. Whichever is max, we put it here, and then we take the minimum of k plus next step and the answer, and just put it in the, what is it? Again,
And the
back
memo. Mm-hmm.
data.
Yeah.
More of a egg drop looks like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It is exactly. So if we consider, uh, but here only the thing is, so you are breaking down the problem statement into two, correct? So we are actually taking on the going on the index which we actually say k, right, in the range from s to e plus 1, right? So
Yeah.
k So the K part, what we are doing is we are actually dividing the left side and the right side and removing the K out of this um, search space, right? So if you look on line 13 also, so we start from S to K minus 1 and K plus 1 to E. So K will be just a penalty, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So that is only different than the egg drop problem. The egg drop problem is only the concept about minimum tries, right? So we also want to find the minimum penalty. Yeah. So they are on the similar categories. Yeah. But I'm just trying to, identify the differences. So it becomes very crystal clear when we think for different solutions, or maybe even something just comes up somewhere, right? So it's helpful.
Line 13, what the reason that we need to take the max?
Because we want to explore both the paths, right? The right side and the left side.
And we want to keep the max one?
No, we
For
don't
high,
want to keep, but anyway, max will come, right? In the worst case, we have to see what is the worst case scenario for a particular index. So
Oh,
whenever we get that worst case, we still have to minimize it
mhm.
when we want
That's
to
right.
answer.
Yeah. Okay.
So the minimum or the worst case, correct?
No, the max is the worst case, right? Line 13, the worst case, and out of that, we take the minimum one.
Then we come on the 14 and take the minimum, yes.
Yeah.
So in the egg drop also, what we do is we go to the both sides, the upper floor and the down floor, and we find what is the max tries which are required for both the sides. And out of the max side, we pick up only the minimum value for that particular drop, right? So yeah, so that way they both actually are similar.
Mm.
it is not clear question also. That's why a lot of downvotes you will see here.
No, actually, these are all what you also mentioned. Right? Remember, Shashank, last time? And that is what I am coming up with. Like, these are all the game theory problems, correct? The min max and all those. So if we start thinking in that, having that mindset, yeah, then they make sense. Or if we just think our normal DP way, then they are more irritating problems, I would say. But if you put the whole uh, thought process in this way we think for our super egg drop problem or other min max problems, then these things actually start falling in place, right?
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
every time, whenever actually someone downvotes, actually, when he has done with that and he has understood the problem, he doesn't come and upvote it, you know.
He might be.
Yeah, so therefore those votes still remain there. Initially, you look, it's very weird solution, and you put a downvote, and then go back, you solve it, you understand everything fine. But actually, people should come back and say, okay, now it is okay. So at least, if they have understood it. But they don't do that, it seems.
That's why criminality. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is our house robber. You're a professional robber planning to rob a house along a street, and each house has a certain amount of money stashed. Now all the houses at this place are arranged in a circle. Okay, that means the first house is the neighbor of the last one. Meanwhile, the adjacent houses have a security system connected, and it will automatically contact the police if adjacent houses were broken on the same night. So list of non-negative integer nums, you have to representing the amount of money of each house, written the maximum amount of money which we can rob without alerting the police. So adjacent coins, I mean, if we pick the two, we are not supposed to pick three, right?
Mhm.
So by doing that way, we have to make it a maximum number of coins we'll have to pick it up.
So
These
come
are,
again, what you were saying?
I'm saying if two is there, if we pick two, then we are not supposed to pick three.
Right.
Like adjacent ones are not supposed to. So if you pick three, you are not supposed to pick two. So by following that rule, we have to rob maximum amount of money from the house. So it's
Mhm.
better to pick three because if you, I mean, that will give the max route, right? So it's like explore all the possibilities, right? I mean, if I pick I, then I'll call my next call will be from here to the remaining array. Or if I pick three, then
Right.
I plus 2 call, yeah.
Yeah. So this problem looks easy, okay, but it is not easy in the
Yeah.
sense the reason, why because initially the way I started thinking, yeah, implementation wise everything when you understand it, it's more easy. But if you look at the example two, right? So what you will think, like if I pick two, okay, I cannot pick one and three, right?
If-
So if I
Yeah.
pick two, right? So now if I'm put here, so what I tend to think is, okay, I'm not going to pick one, and now I'm not going to pick three. Okay, then I actually come to three, but then I think, okay, I've already picked up two, but okay, I say, okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate this option as well as this option, right? But this thought process is okay to understand the problem, but when you are actually trying to solve the problem, okay, so when I'm at this index, okay, so I'm trying to look for the values on my left side as well as right side.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of that, what you do is when you are at any index, okay, every time you only look and care for the elements which are on your left side. You don't care for the elements on the right side for now. Okay. So when you get the optimum value at this one, then you move your index here. Okay. But at the same time, you only care for the values on the left side always.
Yeah.
And when you are doing that, you always follow the rule where it says you can drop, you can drop the current house and not the next house. Okay. Or you can drop the current house and the house next to next.
Next to, yeah.
Yeah. So then you try to find. So every time you reduce your problems space, saying, okay, I'm at this index. Okay. I either have to rob a house at the immediate one. Okay. Or if I'm robbing the current house, so I will just rob whatever I have to previous one.
Yeah.
So if I actually reduce my whole of this logic, or maybe the problem statement, the way I break it, the problem, right? So into different sub problems, into two different sub problems, then actually it's more easier to follow.
In that case, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it should be max of these two, right? Max of either you pick a of I, then the next helper function will go for I plus 2 to the end of the array, right? And if you pick a of I plus 1, then the next function will go to I plus 3 to the end of array. And whosoever gives the max. Will this work?
Yeah, it should, because the way you are representing, it's like you are breaking down into two sub problems. You are
Yeah.
taking I, and then rest is like the nums from I plus 2 onwards, right?
Yeah.
And the similar you're trying to break for I plus 1,
I
correct?
plus 1, I
Yeah.
plus
So this actually approach tends to be more of a top down approach, correct? Yeah. So if
you.
this is perfect, this should work absolutely, no issues. But I was saying that if you want to do it the bottom up approach, okay, or similar to that, I'm not saying exactly bottom up approach, but similar to that, then if you think it this way, it will be slightly easier on this only for this specific problem.
Or okay, candy problem we have done, right? Like we were calculating max from this side and min from this side,
Mhm.
something like that, and then taking the max of it.
Oh, you are saying the candy problem was we are doing from the left and right side both?
Both sides we are doing. First, we are calculating all the max from here, then max from here, and then adding the values, whichever was giving the.
Mm-hmm.
That approach will work here.
Yeah, maybe, but only thing here, the constant here is very tricky because we cannot rob the adjacent ones, right? So then if we can't drop the adjacent one, it's not the meaning like we only rob the even number of houses or the odd number of houses. That is also not the right assumption, right? So some of them might be even houses and some of them might be odd also.
In that case,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So we'll
Yeah.
have different combinations.
Could you scroll up a little bit? I think this problem was about circular array, right?
Yes, it is circular array.
So how will we take care of circular?
Mod, you do mod, it will fetch you to the next one and make sure that if the last mod length gives you first, then that you'll have to avoid. That
Yeah,
case.
but
Yeah,
what?
that is true, but actually that will be slightly tricky to handle, correct?
Yeah. So either you take the first one,
Or you take the last one.
or you
Or you
take
start
the
from
second one.
the second index.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So if you
So
start from the second index, then that means you don't take the first one, right? I mean,
yes,
if you start from the second index, would you still go back to the first one?
no, since first and second will be adjacent, so we won't be taking into consideration first one if we are starting from second.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So for that we need to check the max sum in the subarray 2 to n, and again we need to check the max sum from subarray 1 to n minus 1 and take the maximum of both of the answers.
Why one from?
Since
Wait, you
if we
said
choose
one from
one,
to n minus one.
if we choose one, then we cannot choose the last index, which is n. So if we are choosing from one, we have to choose the last index to be chosen will be n minus 1.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But
So
the way Shashank was saying,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, Abhishek.
in this problem, I will say the recursive approach will be a little tough to implement, but the iterative approach or the tabular format is very easy to uh, understand.
Right, right. Yeah, that might be. So that is what question was asking to Shashank. Shashank,
Yeah.
so the way you were saying, and I also agree one thing about what you said. We can use a modulo operator, okay, and then go again, okay. Say like if we are at the very nth minus one location, so we can go and find out what is our maximum or optimum choice for the zeroth element, okay. So
Yeah.
that we can do, but those things we can do only in the non-recursive implementation, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that
is.
can be implemented. So that will be, see, even the way the problem statement is breaking down, if you look at the house robber one, and if you compare both this problem, so if you still use the house robber one implementation and divide the problem space in the way Abhishek and Leon was saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but without that also, the way you are saying, if we do a modulo operator, we can still use the house robber one solution without modifying it, right?
Yeah.
So if
Then
we just concatenate two sub arrays together, two arrays, the nums, okay, and just take it one more index, one or two more indexes, right, to satisfy our condition. So then that should be okay, right?
in that case, yeah. It should work.
I'm
But
thinking loud, yeah.
if you
Yeah.
do that, then you also have the put another constraint. Say at any index you can go forward at most the length, right?
Of the
Because
Yeah.
you don't want to go beyond that, then you're gonna get extra.
Yeah, makes sense. So actually, yeah, so that will be some tricky things we need to handle, or you use a modulo. Yeah, okay.
yeah, this is like iterative when it's done.
Yeah, that is what happens, right? We all tend to do the iterative way, correct?
Yeah. But I
But
thought the recurrence relation which I was showing that
yeah,
way.
it's very intuitive, absolutely. So that is what actually most of us would try to come in the interview, correct? So we'll have to think slightly more in detail before we implement, and then maybe some problems like these are more easier to implement the iterative way.
Yeah. So here, like, I mean, this is a base case. If length of nums is less than 2, that means 1, you have your return some of that.
Mhm.
And loot and prev we have. So I'm leaving the first number.
Mhm.
After leaving the first number, I'm just going. So my loot will be the max of current plus previous and the current what I've looted till now.
Okay.
Yeah, and to my previous will be the loot, like whatever loot is there. I mean 0.
Okay, so the loot actually will be the value what you have looted, just num minus 1, right? If we
Yeah.
ever to consider that index, okay. Till that previous one. So previous is actually previous to previous, isn't it?
Previous is nums plus
Okay, if it is loot, then you actually keep on moving ahead, right? Yeah.
yeah.
See, your loot is actually the maximum of num plus priv and
Comma loot.
loots. Yeah. So
Hmm.
whatever is the maximum, you are trying to put that in the loot. But
Yeah.
but if the loot is the current one, then that is fine. Or if the loot is from the previous one, okay.
No, that will be previous one, not the current updated one. It won't be.
Yeah. Because num and the previous one will be the okay, the previous one.
The
Okay.
it will be the last second one,
Last
not
second
the
one, yeah.
last one.
Yeah. But what will be the loot in this case?
Loot will be the last one.
Okay.
Since it is written in one line, I think it is pretty hard to understand.
Right, right, right. So it is like if we are at index I, so I minus 1 will be the loot, correct? And I
Yes,
minus
and
2 will be the prev.
Right, yeah.
yes, I
Okay.
minus 2 plus the loot which we did for. Okay, and the current index will be added to loot of I minus 2.
Yeah. So I minus 2 plus I, we are comparing with the I minus 1 value,
I
which
minus
is
1.
the loot.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
That's clear now.
And line number 12, just to separate that, what you say, end and first. The end I'm adding 0.
Yes, so this line makes the search phase from 0 to n minus 1, n minus 2,
Mhm.
and the first loop did from 1 to n minus 1,
1. Yeah.
Mm.
and at last the max of both the search spaces were taken.
Yeah. So if we actually do the house robber one, so this will be the way to do, correct? Yeah.
Yes, only one of the for loops will be taken for that.
Right, right. And they have that house robber 3, which is a binary tree, something like that, correct?
Yes, I tried to implement it, but it is it is actually very tricky. You need to take all the edge cases.
Okay. But it is interesting, right? So someone will surely go to that extent if we are actually starting from house robber one, surely come here and at least there will be a discussion on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, no problem. If we have some time later, we can discuss that also.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, no issues. Okay. So